welcome to another episode of the Tapestry Podcast. I'm Dr. Francois Booker Drew. And once again, this is a podcast designed to share the narratives of amazing human beings that we can learn lessons from their journey. And today I have a wonderful person and friend here, Shelly Shepard, who is the co-founder of LBJ Enterprises. And we'll talk about what that really means because I am just elated she's here. Let me tell you a little bit about what Shelly does. She has served so many churches and denominations working in church planning and has consulted with businesses to grow people and teams for the past 20 years. She holds a master's degree in theology and Christian leadership from Fuller Seminary, and she has served students with disabilities, beginning her career as a speech pathologist. She has launched a training and development arm for the best-selling author, Lori Beth Jones, which is what the LBJ stands for. She has authored, created, and developed brand programs for training, coaching, and building teams. And she consults with trainers and coaches and organizations, not only in the United States, but internationally. And her mission is awesome. It is to teach, promote, and release the feminine voice of God and herself and others. And so, Shelly, thank you for saying yes and welcome to the show.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Francois. It's such a pleasure to connect with you on this beautiful seasonal day that we are headed into, this Christmas season. It's just, it's phenomenal that we can just be here and talk and connect.
I am so happy because I want people to experience what, or at least a fraction of what I was able to get with connecting with you. And so to kind of tell the audience our connection, I was a part of this amazing coaching group called The Path. And it was a course that really helps you to understand the 4 elements and how you may show up in one of those elements and how it operates in your life and how others respond to whether you're earth, wind, fire, or water. And so Shelly was amazing in helping me understand that. But what was so beautiful was not only being able to learn more about myself, I was really able to learn more about this amazing woman and what she is doing to impact the lives of women. And so, Shelly, talk a bit about your relationship with Lori Beth Jones and how you got started in this space. And then the second part to that question is really talk about the path elements and without revealing too much, because I want you all to get in this and take advantage of this opportunity. Talk a little bit about what that really is and what I experienced.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for that beautiful introduction, and very humbled to be in this space with you, Francois, and, just have the opportunity that we have to speak into other people's lives and allow them the freedom and the creativity and the innovation that births in each person. And I think that that's what happened with you in this case, in the Path course. And, very quickly I could see in your heart and life this passion that you also have for the voices of women, and where that journey came from and how it was formed and how it was unfurled, as we like to say, in the Path. It's just a beautiful, opportunity in relationships that we have to journey and walk with other women like yourself, in this time and in this season and in this process, that this world that we're all living in. So it was such a great connection, is how I see our friendship and our relationship and how it started in the Path. And honestly, I think you and I both are moving into a season right now where the voices of women are becoming more than a drumbeat in our souls and in our hearts, right? It's like it's constantly beating right inside my cochlea, this inner ear space, that I'm very familiar with as a speech pathologist. It is just so loud. I don't know if you're sensing that or not, but it's just so loud that that we have to step into that. Are you feeling some of that as well?
Definitely. I feel like even with the podcast, it really started out of this desire to amplify the voices of women and not necessarily celebrities and people talking about how they became millionaires. I wasn't so much interested in that as much as I wanted to hear the heart of women and how we could listen to their stories to make an impact. And so, like you, I'm going through this process of recognizing how, especially with the path course, how I'm fire and how fire shows up and can really begin to, and wind, I'm more wind than fire, but how
Hmm.
that shows up in doing something like this and connecting to women in this. And so just having the relationship with you has been so important for me because you've allowed me to hear that thumping and that sound even more just by going through the coaching. It was just an amazing experience for me.
Yeah, thank you for that. Thank you. And most of that happens, with the folks that are in the space, the ones that come to the process. Really the genius shows up in each individual. And you talk about the elements, this space where Lori Beth created this, really started uh, playing with the elements in 1996 when she wrote the book, The Path. And it was just a couple of pages in that book. And then what happened over, the years that followed is she realized that this became a pattern recognition tool, a way for individuals to understand their personal capacity and what that means for them in their mission, in their purpose, in their calling, in the roles that they play, and sometimes the roles that we get stuck in that we don't know quite how to get out of over time. These elements are a fresh way, a fresh lens, much like the Enneagram that is such the craze right now. The path elements, is this tool for understanding your personal identity and personal capacity. And then once you're clear about that, and once it's set for yourself, to see how this shows up for other people. And so when you meet someone and they're your opposite, or they're different, you have a pattern recognition tool. You have a way to look at that person, the imago Dei in that person, how God created them. And there's a respect for that instead of, oh, that person is of a different race, a different color, a different background. They're from the other side of the tracks, or they're from here or there. It really becomes a tool for understanding and respecting the strengths and the challenges that we all have within us. But it provides a way for us to harness our understanding about what we've been shaped for and called to, instead of trying to run around and figure out, is my calling over here on the mission field? Is my calling in business? Is my calling in healthcare? Am I supposed to be an educator? Right? We seem to go to the end result, like we can see that ultimately we want, to have impact somewhere in the world. And so we start trying all these things when really the personal identity was formed in you, if we wanted to say this, back in Genesis 1.
Right.
When God created the heaven and the earth in 1 through 3, it's all right there, all plain as day, all four elements. And then it kind of finds its way throughout scripture, as you're totally aware of, in so many different ways, how fire, earth, water, and wind has shown up and been talked about historically in scripture. But yeah, I mean, for yourself too, right? When you came into this personal identity, when you harnessed it for yourself, what shifted? What happened?
What was so interesting for me was I began to see it in other people and paying attention to how I responded to people or how they responded to me. And so, being wind, I am constantly doing things. And I tend to work well with people who are wind or fire, because that's my second element. And you're constantly doing and on the move. And for me, I couldn't understand sometimes how that impacted people that were earth or water. who tend to
Mm-hmm.
be, a little bit more reserved. And so it made me think about it, even in our group, when I would see some of the folks who were in those elements, how they would respond. They were easily overwhelmed. And
Yep.
sometimes you don't pay attention to that. You're just kind of doing what you do. And it caused me to pause even more and recognizing the differences in that way and how people show up and how I might be perceived. But it also helped me to see, even in my own daughter, who took the
Mm-hmm.
test, that she's just, and we knew it, she's just like her mother, but it gave her a language for her to be able to understand, oh, that's why this is happening with this situation. So for me, having this tool really helped me in being able to have a better understanding of, purpose and mission. And what I loved about it was the opportunity to write my mission statement. I had done one before. I'd read The Path. It is one of the best books ever. And I'm often, pushing people to read that in Jesus CEO. But in doing it this season in my life, I recognized my own growth, and that what I
Mm-hmm.
had written 10, 15 years ago, had changed so much because of honing my own vision and seeing how my path has become even more focused. It helped me think differently and creating that. And so now I'm often telling people, you need to make sure, in addition to having your own personal board of directors, that you have a mission statement, because that becomes the litmus test in determining what you do and what you don't do. Because as you grow, you'll get more opportunities. And if you're not
That's right.
careful, you'll say yes to everything, and
Mm.
you won't be able to go, that's good work. Or as a friend of mine told me, there's a difference between good work and God work. And so
Right.
often we get caught up in the good work. It feels good, but it's not the God activity and the opportunities. And we will miss those because we're so busy doing the good stuff. And this helped me
Mm.
focus into that.
Wow, that's powerful. I love that. Good work and God work. Is that original? Is that yours? That's awesome.
And that was a friend of mine who was on the show. She was on the first podcast. She's the one who really pulled me in right before I took the path, and pulled me in and
Mm-hmm.
said, you got to pay attention to that, because it is so easy for us to get into all these different things and then realize later on, I didn't really get closer to my purpose. It was just good stuff. And
Yeah.
so this really helped hone it for me by being a part of this process, and looking at how connection is such a part of who I am and what I do. This show is for, connecting women to ideas and resources, and, and I do that in my everyday life. But taking that course really helped me to see how that flowed in everything that I do. And that's what you
Mm-hmm.
help me do, is you really help
Mm.
me find my flow by being in this. And that's really what I titled this episode, is it's finding your flow. Because I think so often we're in lanes that we're not designed to be in, and we don't
Absolutely.
understand why we're stuck in traffic, because we're not
Yeah.
going in the direction we need to be in. And that's what this has done for me.
Yeah. And it's not just traffic, right? It's air traffic too. And it's
Yes.
noise that gets in our way. And sometimes we don't understand that distractions are, sometimes a deliverance, to get us beyond the mundane ways of living and being, present in the world. Like we forget, like as well, I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I'm a sister, I'm a friend, I'm all these different roles that we play, and we feel like we are living into that space and mission that God designed for us. Um, and sometimes we're really, really close